Hey there. So today I started out thinking I would describe the differences between the Series 3 and the Series 4 at a hardware level. I mean, besides the fact that the labels appear differently, and the Series 4 has a blue power LED versus the green power LED on the Series 3. I thought then after we talked about that, I would demonstrate some of those differences with programs running on both units. Mostly the difference between the two units is performance. And I thought that I would write a benchmark and run it on either one, and you could see the difference that way. But then I realized it's been several years since I really had to write a program for the Series 3. Now, both programs are written in Java. Both are very, very similar. So there's no dramatic difference in the programming, except that before a program can run on the Series 3, it has to be run through a converter. And that extra step requires some extra files and is a lot more confusing. With the Series 4, we've eliminated all of that. And so this is a lot more straightforward to program and doesn't require any special code. This will run a jar file produced by NetBeans or your compiler directly, whereas this requires a converter. And, well, I have to write a simple benchmark for this demonstration. And so it sent me back thinking, what's involved in actually writing a program for this Series 3? So today, instead of talking about hardware differences, it's change of plan. I'm going to get into writing a program for this Series 3. Now, if you call Integ and say, you want a junior and you want to program it, you're going to receive the Series 4 because that's all that we can ship now. This is no longer in production. But if you had a Series 3 and the Series 4, we would recommend that you do any programming on the Series 4. Not just because it's simpler to get the programming done, and not simply because the performance is so much better, but there's a lot more you can do with the Series 4 now. And we are absolutely supporting this very closely. So this is older stuff, and so you could learn to program this. Certainly if you have some Series 3 units, you got some off of eBay or whatever, you're certainly welcome to program them. And I will show you today in the rest of this video how you go about doing that. Then in another video, we'll write that embedded benchmark and run it on 2 units and give you that demonstration. So here we have the 2 units. This one, I've now placed this Series 3 on the network. So let's work with it over on the desktop. So over here, what we'll need to work with this unit first is support tool, so we see it. So run support tool. You can ignore this infinity unit that actually is on my furnace in the house here, but this is the unit we're going to work with. It's a Series 3. Series 3 serial numbers start with 2, so you can see that. Or numbers less than 6 actually, because it's the 312 and the 314 have different numbers. You'll notice too, the Series 4 all have a MAC address that starts at 9C8D1A. That actually has been allocated to Integ, whereas the Series 3 is built on other hardware and therefore has a Dallas allocated MAC address. So you can tell the difference between the 2 units, between the 2 types of units on your support tool. Notwithstanding the fact that all the Series 4 JNIOR versions start with V, and the Series 3 have a quite different format for the version. Now, to write a program to run on this unit, we're going to use NetBeans, and you'll need to have a version of NetBeans available and installed. Now, beyond that, there are 3 files you're going to need, and I've brought them over here into this folder. All 3 of these are on my Google Drive, and if you're unable to obtain any of them, let me know, and I'll be happy to forward them to you. This document was written some time ago, and it describes the development of a simple Hello World program. I'll open that in a second. You'll need the distribution of files that pertain to the processor that is the Dallas processor that we use. It runs an operating system called Tiny, T-I-N-I, and this is the distribution for the version of Tiny that all of our Series 3 units run. In here, there's a conversion program that we'll need. And you'll also need the JNIOR OS. Now, this is specific. This JNIOR OS is specific to a Series 3 Junior, and the OS runs on top of the Tiny OS inside the Series 3. So when you're writing the program that we're going to be running, I will also demonstrate how to communicate with the operating system, the JNIOR OS, and so you'll need this jar file from in here. So I'll show you those. So first thing, before we get into detail, I'm going to expand these, extract them to here so I have the files. There's also, I think, potentially a Java distribution in here in case you don't have one in the Tiny one. And this one here. Extract this one. We'll be referencing these, so it's best to get that out of the zip. All right, let's open up the program. As I mentioned, this was written quite some time ago. Series 3 was in production from 2003 up until 2013 or so. So documents that cover that go back to that date. And the Model 310 really contains an embedded operating system. I mentioned the JNIOR OS, and it's designed really to give you access to the relays and all that type of functionality. In the case of the Series 4, the operating system and all the runtime libraries are apparent. They're brought out. They're actually available in our JANISclasses.jar, sort of a runtime.jar. It's much more clear cut for a programmer. But on the 310, we have to use the JNIOR OS to communicate to the Tiny OS and to get hardware and your application program to interrelate. So you have the usual stuff being here. You can see here that back then we were using XP and 2000 based machines back at the beginning of the Series 3 deployment, and NetBeans back then was version 5.0. Of course, any NetBeans distribution now is sufficient. There is one adjustment you have to make in order to write this code, and we'll talk about that briefly. The platform for the Model 310 or 312 or 314 in the Series 3, it's a microprocessor-based device just like the Series 4, although this one is based on the Dallas Maximum DC AEC 400 running a Tiny OS version 1.15. This is an 8051 derivative set up as a JVM, and there's actually firmware that comes with the component that performs the JVM function. So all of the Tiny OS and the JNIOR OS that we use are all then written in Java. And the Tiny OS really did not provide any inter-process communications, so Intake had to develop their own technique for that. And the JNIOR OS that sits on top of the Tiny OS allows for that inter-process communication to occur. Beyond that, the command prompt and the ability to run an application on the unit by downloading it with FTP and using the Java command and running it in the background using an ampersand, all that's the same with the Series 4. The difference being performance. And there are some little tricks and advantages to the Series 4 that limit the amount of typing you have to do and makes locating programs easier. Things we've improved in the switch between the series, but the functionality is roughly the same. And typically, when you run an application for a embedded control, you want that program to always be running, so you can run it with a run key in the registry. And Tiny also provided you with the ability to start up a program from a .startup file. Series 4 does not implement this. It never really got used in the Series 3, but it was possible back then under Tiny. Okay. So let's do a simple embedded application program, like a Hello World program. The one in this document, if you open this document up, actually does more than let's see, does more than just print the Hello World. It shows you how you can make the connection with the operating system, and then it demos at least one operating system feature, making an entry in the system log. But we'll take it a step at a time, and first program we'll develop and we'll write will be a Hello World, nothing more. So I'm going to keep this document here, though, because it'll be nice if we can go back here and I can cut and paste some of this text and make writing our little program go a little quicker. I won't have to type it all for you. Now, once you have a program that's written, it's required to run on the Tiny OS. You'll need that tiny 1.15 distribution that I mentioned, and we'll need to set up NetBeans correctly. It's all documented here. And there'll be this tiny classes.jar, which is the runtime jar for the Series 3. Again, see here where I mentioned that it's a derivative of the 8051. It's an 8-bit MPU. The Series 4 is a 32-bit MPU. And I think, you know, there are a lot of other reasons it's faster. For one is that this DS80C400 ran at 36 megahertz, and we have the the Series 4 Renaissance processor, RX 600 series, running at 96 megahertz, and at 32-bit versus that. And the operating system on the Series 4 is all written in C. It does not run under Java. It will run Java, but does not run under Java. So there's all those things, those factors come together to make a huge performance difference. But once we get all these programs written and we reference all the classes and we do all those things, and I'll talk about them as we need them, we'll have to create a batch program file in the command line in DOS to perform the conversion for us. This converter will take our jar file and combine it with the necessary runtime libraries and create a tiny program that will run on the Series 3. This step is not needed on the Series 4, and there's a big difference in that. Okay, so that's the deal, and we'll set this up correctly to create the converted program. We'll get there. So let's put that down here out of the way for a moment. I think we're ready to go. So let's open up NetBeans. And I'm going to create a new project from scratch. You would make, and it's going to be an application. Let's call it, I don't know, let's call it Old Hello. Finish. So here we have a program. It's called Old Hello. That will be the name of the program, and we'll use later. And right here, we'll add some code to print Hello World. Series 3. Now, as we have this right here, it'll compile. Just finished building that. And over here in the file system, under, let's see, it's in Documents, in my NetBeans projects, Old Hello, dist, we have now created this Hello jar file. This Hello jar could actually be placed on a Series 4 and it would run. That's it, you're done. Now, the rest of this video, let's talk about how we get this program to run on the Series 3. Well, remember that make file I mentioned? Let's go back and deal with that. So in fact, what we'll do here is, and I'll do it the hard way, in my documents, I've created a Series 3 folder that has all this in here. In here, let's create a a batch file. Well, we'll call it make .bat, and let's edit that. Multiple screens here, so I'll bring this over. Okay, so we have a blank batch file. I want to get the content from that PDF over here. So we'll just take all this, copy it with a Control-C, and come back to here and Control-V, paste it. Now, in the document here, it tells you what these things are. The project variable in that batch file represents the path / program name where the test application, our old hello.jar file, was created by NetBeans. So that would be in that dist folder that we opened. So we go back to that. Documents, NetBeans, old hello, dist. Because there it is. I'll click up here and I'll just copy that, Control-C. Come back over here and we'll put that in here, Control-V. So there's the absolute path to that. And it needs the program name, which is old hello. Tbin represents the path containing the tiny classes.jar file. Well, that is, and as you can see, in this series 3 tiny bin. So your tiny classes.jar file is here. So if we go to the batch file, we will put for the tbin in here. I'm going to run this out of my series 3 folder, so it's just really a subfolder of that. So that's good to go. And junior bin represents the path to where junior os.jar can be found. Okay, let's go back to that. So if we come back up to series 3, I have the junior os bin, and there's the junior os.jar file right there. So we'll come in here and we'll change that to, well, it's also a subfolder of series 3 that we're going to build, and it's in bin/bin. Okay, so project, tiny bin, and junior bin all indicate the paths correctly. From that point further in here, this is all set up to use to perform the conversion. Now, the way this batch file is set, if there's any error in the conversion, it'll open Notepad and show you make output.txt. And that make output.txt will have errors in it if there's a problem. Otherwise, the batch file will just complete, and the output will be a .tiny file. Now, on the series 3, you can execute a .tiny file. It's synonymous with a .junior file, and we like to call our programs .junior programs, so I'm going to change the output here to .JNIOR, but either would work. Maybe I'll show you that later. You can try yourself. But actually the extension is really irrelevant. You have to specifically enter the program name on the series 3, and so the convention is .junior. On the series 4, it's usually just .jar files, and you can omit the .jar, and you can just enter the program name and it'll run. You don't even have to enter the Java command, but all of that, as I'll mention, you have to do explicitly on the series 3 to get things to go. So I think we're good to go here. Get rid of that blank here, and we'll save that. And we'll go back up to here where our make file is and just double click it. Now it ran. It created a make output.txt file. The Notepad did not open, which means that there was no error. Well, we can look what's in this, and you can see that there's nothing that says error, and it looks like it outputted our file. So let's go over to the dist folder and old hello dist, and there we have old hello.junior. So that's the complex step of making the conversion, and the batch file really helps. So you'll need to create that. The converter has a lot of options, and the set of options I'm showing you here are the basically the ones that you need to do it, to get this program to work on the Series 3. This is the convert command right there, and you can see it specifies the source file. It has to specify the native library, and that's the interface pretty much to the hardware. It specifies the output file, and then a number of options, which are paths and whatnot, and how to forward the output and check for errors. So this batch file's a nice little tool. It makes that a lot easier. I don't think we've ever developed any application programs for the Series 3 without using one of these cryptic batch files. In fact, we've gone so far as to, in some cases, have NetBeans kick them off at the end of a build, on a post-build, so that automatically out comes the junior.junior file. Okay, so now we've gone through that process. We've got our old hello.junior file. Let's put it on the junior and see what happens. Well, how do you do that? Well, let's close down, not close, we'll just put this out of the way, the NetBeans IDE. And go back to the support tool, and I'll right click on the Series 3 and open FTP. I haven't changed the password, so it's junior. And it's opened up the root of the Series 3. We always like to put programs in the more permanent flash folder, so we'll go to the flash folder, and you can see there are some programs here that come default on a Series 3. But we're going to take our Hello Junior program and add it to the list. And there it is. So we can close that down, and we can put these away. And now, to run it, we'll go to Tools, and we'll open a Telnet session. This is the banner for a Series 3, Model 310. We'll log in, junior. There we go. Now, to run a program, and we can look to see if our program is there. Let's do that first. Directory, long thing. Now, you have to type out folders and file names on the Series 3. There's a tab feature. You can use a tab key on the Series 4 to automatically fill these in for you. Old hello.junior. And there it is. Transferred it over. So let's execute it. So it's a Java command, //old hello.jnior. On the Series 4, I could just type old hello and it would do it. And there we go. It takes a moment to load, and bing, hello world. Okay. So we developed the program. We're running it on the Series 3. Exciting, huh? Okay, let's go a step further. In this document, the Embedded Applications Programming document, the program actually does a couple of other things. Scroll up here. And it demonstrates how you would make the interface to the operating system, and you need that in order to get to relays and a lot of the hardware functionality from your application. There are functions in this Junior OS operating system that let you set relays, check status of inputs, and so on and so forth. So you need this interface, and you need to load it and check to make sure that the class was properly instantiated. And then down here, you can see what we're going to do is we're going to also place a string in the syslog We could toggle relays, do all kinds of other control type functions here, but I'm just going to add a line to the syslog using the OS interface. So these two sections we did not add to our initial program, we just did the hello world part. So first, let's bring in the code to make the connection with the JNIOR OS. I'll Control C, copy that to the clipboard. We'll go back into NetBeans to our program, and ahead of this, we'll put in the code. And let's get this formatted nicely. Come on. There we go. All right, and so that's the code there, and we have a couple of issues to deal with. We'll take care of that shortly. Let me put the other section in after this at the bottom that we have down here. Copy the clipboard, bring it back over here, and down here we'll stick that in there. And let me just tab this stuff over there. Okay. Now, you can see that our program doesn't know anything about the JNIOR OS, and we don't have this static variable, so that needs to be copied over from the program. Here, where is it? Right here. And we'll bring that over. Put it up here as a static variable in our class. And so that takes care of that, but we still don't know about the JNIOR OS, and we need to import it. So that's back here as well, import right there. So we'll put that in our program as well. This should get us close. Okay, still have an issue. That's because NetBeans not yet been told what library to use. So over here under the project properties, we go to libraries. We need to add here that JNIOR os.jar. So add the jar folder, and I've gone here before, so obviously it found it, but in my documents under that series 3 folder, JNIOR OS bin, you find the JNIOR os.jar. And you can get documentation for JavaDoc out of that same folder and add that if, when you get into development, if you want your tooltips and whatnot to be more helpful, then you can get the JavaDoc as well. But we won't need it for this demo. So make that change. Now there's one other change that we need to make up here in the sources. The source of binary format is JDK8. The Series 3 cannot handle 5 or above. So we recommend JDK 1.3, change this source level to JDK 1.3. There are string buffers and string builders and a number of other features that come with later versions of Java that the Series 3 JVM runtime library does not support. So the solution to that is to back off on the source level to accommodate those limitations. Done. And now you can see that our program has no error markers. It should compile, so let's compile it. Finish building hello.jar. Okay. Put that aside. Let's go. We don't need the document at the moment anymore. And we'll come back in here in a second. Let's go to the folder and see the old hello.jar is there now. So we need to make that conversion. So we go to the documents, Series 3, make that back, double click that. There was no error. And here we now have the old hello.junior program. We want to get that over to this junior. So again, we'll go through to FTP. And we'll put that in the flash folder. Aha. Okay. Sometimes when I have it open in two places, that won't let me get to it. So we'll try again here. Series 3, tools. That's good old Microsoft. Might have typed the password wrong. Good to go. We're going to go in the flash folder with this. Bingo. And let's just delete that one. We're going to overwrite it. And now I want to get the file right there, that junior file, and put it here. We'll go into a telnet session. And execute old hello.junior. Says hello world. Now, we're supposed to have an entry in the junior sys.log file. So let's cat that. And here we have down here that entry. That's that line in the program. Line right there makes this entry right here in the syslog. And there's lots of other detail you'll find in the system log on the junior. And this varies greatly between the Series 3 and the Series 4. Formatting's the same on the Series 4, but the kinds of things that you get posted in here will be quite different. There's a lot more can go on on the Series 4 at the same time. But there you go. We've written a program as advertised to run on the Series 3 versus the Series 4. Now, I'm going to convert that Hello World program into a little benchmark, and I'll generate that benchmark so that we can run it on both units in another video. And that will definitely show a difference in performance between the two. And if you got a Series 3, if you got them off of eBay or you have a Series 3, the files are in my Google Drive, and if you need them, you can't get them, Integ will provide those 3 files for you that you can go ahead and work on this, write programs for the Series 3. But we would highly recommend that if you're developing a new control application and you'll be getting new juniors for that application, that you do it on the Series 4, because there's just got a big difference in improvement. Technology has advanced. This is early 2000 technology, and this is early 2010 technology. Decade difference in performance. And I'll get into the hardware details in another video.